Hello, I'm Paul McEwen and this is Neil Tucker. We're the co-editors of a book called The Rest of Your Life, How to Make It As Good As You Want. This book is a valuable resource for anybody who's thinking about planning for their life after work, or anybody who's recently retired. Now, if you're viewing this video, you've made the first step towards taking control of the next part of your life. Organising your own financial plan is a vital part of any transition to retirement strategy, because it'll give you the knowledge and the security to create the lifestyle you want and, equally as importantly, can afford. Personally, I've always found that if I had an idea what was going to happen in the short term, it's generally a lot easier to handle. It's when life pulls a surprise on you that things can get a bit tricky. Now, Neil, you've written in our book that people are going to experience significant change as they move from full-time work to some form of retirement. Could you expand a bit and tell us just what sort of changes people can expect?
Paul, Hugh Mackay, the Australian social commentator, says that we're a bit weird as humans because we like stability and the absence of change, and yet we also crave and yearn for change. As you've said, it's the change that comes unexpectedly, the what-ifs of life that can challenge and more than challenge our comfort zone. Let's look for a moment at physical change. Physical change comes imperceptibly, little blotches on our skin, hearing, sight, short-term memory deteriorate. The results of accident and injuries from sport catch up with us. We have aches and pains. We can't do some of the things that we've always been used to doing. But older people into their 80s and 90s take part in the Masters Games. And it's very important to maintain muscle strength. Change in life circumstances to those who are important to us affect us profoundly. But in this T-zone, the transition zone from full-time work to other activities, the change that affects us most is in our lifestyle and in our sense of identity. In lifestyle, we have perhaps a freedom to do and an opportunity to do things that we've wanted to do for years. But there's also the difficulties associated with losing work that we love. We'll return to this point later. Who are we? What then is my self-value? What is today for? What is my daily routine? So the change that is difficult and unwanted can cause us stress. And it may take 2, 3, 4 years for us to work this through. Let's hear what Sandra Kimball, the psychologist and contributor to our book, has to say.
As we're talking mainly to people in their 40s, 50s and 60s, is it true that when people give up their full-time job and start adapting to a different lifestyle, does that generally cause stress and anxiety?
Yes, actually, when there's a lifestyle change of any sort, whether it's changing a family situation or a work situation or a loss of your identity, who you thought you were, that's considered actually one of the highest stressors in our society. And so yes, it is a time to be very careful and to watch for it.
Well, if we can't avoid an environment which gives us stress, is there some techniques that you could suggest that enable us to handle it better.
Yes, anything that we can do to bring our baseline stress level lower. So those are things like doing things that are actively restful, taking a walk, going to the gym, taking classes like yoga or Tai Chi or even a meditation class. There's really a lot of different ways to bring that baseline stress level down, and there's a lot of suggestions in the book about that.
Sandra, thanks very much, and you can now go and reduce your stress levels caused by this interview by having a beautiful swim in the Gold Coast beaches.
Thank you very much.
For many couples, retirement is going to be the first time in their entire relationship that they've been together 24/7 without kids or a job as a distraction. Neil, you've said that relationships often change at this time of the life, or this time of life, and that can present both great opportunities and dangers.
Paul, relationships, the ones that are most important to us, affect our health, happiness and well-being in mature age more than finance and illness does. The relationships that we have in our families of origin and those in our current families and amongst our most intimate friends. There are patterns of interaction that are ingrained into the way we behave and communicate, an unresolved conflict. Sylvester Stallone, Billy Connolly and super chef Clarissa Wright all refer to issues that relate to their parenting that they were still dealing with in their 50s. We only have to watch long-term pairs at dinner, in bowls games, in golf pairs, in bridge games, to observe the patterns of conversation and interaction that affect people. And one of the great opportunities that we've got when we are older and we engage in lifestyle and work change is to address some of these patterns and behaviour that have dogged us for years. For some couples, it's serious enough to mean that they part. For others, it's a wonderful opportunity for renewal. It's very, very important that whatever the changes that we are contemplating as we move into the T-zone, we discuss them with those people who are important to us, with our partners, with our siblings, with our children, and possibly even our grandchildren. Our plans may be very different from their plans. Our needs, our wants, our feelings, different from theirs. The baby boomer generation is the most divorced, blended, mobile and multicultural in Australia's history. There are particular aspects of sexuality that affect our generation. Homosexual men and fewer, but nonetheless also homosexual women have come out, often to the surprise of their families. Loss of sexual function and sexual interest also profoundly affects couples. Women experience often a loss of libido. Erectile dysfunction affecting a high proportion of men in their 40s and 50s is also powerful at this time of life. And adjusting to changes in physical attraction are often difficult. Anne Hollands, the CEO of Relationships Australia, has some important information and advice to suggest to us. So Anne, what are the issues that people in later life need to think about with respect to their relationships?
Well, first and foremost, people need to understand that what's going to affect their quality of life more than any other factor is their relationships. It's just been reinforced by research over many, many years. You know, we worry about things like money and health and other factors. Obviously, these are important and affect our quality of life, but the number one issue is whether or not we have satisfying and supportive relationships in our lives. And the reasons for this are that you know, having supportive relationships in your life help you deal with the ups and downs. You know, if we feel socially isolated, if we feel lonely, if we feel we don't have anyone we can turn to for support, it makes dealing with the inevitable issues that crop up, whether it be health issues or financial issues or just you know, quality of life on a daily basis, it makes that, you know, much more difficult to handle. And at the other end of the spectrum, if you have the capacity to share your life with someone who's close to you or friends who are close to you or family, then your measure of your quality of life is enhanced immeasurably. So it's you know, it works both ways, both at the positive end and then at the negative end where we're dealing with difficulties. Having good relationships assists us there as well. The key thing though to remember is that particularly when it comes to our most intimate personal relationships, that they don't stay the same through life. So it seems that we have, let's say if we get married, we have a period of time with our marital partner who early on in the marriage it's a certain kind of relationship. It changes once the kids come along and you have a different kind of relationship. It will inevitably change again once those children are leaving home, once you're facing the end of your career and looking forward to retirement years. This is a huge life change for both of you and requires major renegotiation of the fundamentals in your relationship.
Thanks, Neil. That gives us a few things to think about as far as our relationship with our partner is concerned. But what about our relationship with ourselves? Some people's relationship is very closely tied up with the job that they're doing. So when some people lose a job which has a position of importance, that surely can have an impact on the way they feel about themselves.
Yes, it does. If you and I walk into a room, I can say, this is Paul, he manages and owns his own company, my life change. If I don't do that and you're meeting a stranger, one of the first things that's likely to happen is they'll ask you, so Paul, what do you do? And what do you do is almost the same as, who are you? So for those who move comfortably into life after full-time work and like the things they are doing, the question, so what do you do, isn't hard. I'm gardening, I'm doing contract work, I'm minding the grandchildren, I'm fishing up the coast. For those who've been made redundant or have found the circumstances of life after work very difficult to adjust to, the question is confronting. There's also a difference for those people who are in professional partnership or professional services, or who own their own companies and who can phase in their retirement, I guess like Rupert Murdoch. For those who are employees, it's a different story. In the last 30 years, studies have shown that Australians, many of us, love our work. and to lose what we love is hard. And it invites the question, what then is the rest of my life for? And I guess there are at least two answers. One is myself, and the other is others who are close to me. And if I don't have those, then there are others in the community. Adele Horan says that we can't change the habits of a lifetime in a weekend. But most people have something about themselves that they want to change. So I would encourage everyone seeing this video and reading our book to say, what is it in my life? What is it about myself that I can make better? What is it I now have an opportunity to do and to be that I didn't have before? For Richard Gere, while still working, it was learning to dance. Whatever it is, it's important to keep busy. It's important to have a routine. It's important to keep a diary. Some people put it this way. They say, in business, you worked on the strategy of your business. In transition leading to retirement, work on the strategy of yourself. And if you do come across something that is hard and difficult, anger that you've never resolved, carping comments to your partner that you've never resolved, then talk to a counsellor. You have an opportunity to make things different.
Many of the people who give up full-time work aren't actually going to give up work permanently. What happens in the world today is that many people simply change the work that they're doing. You've done a lot of study on this, Neil. Do you have any views on that subject?
It's important to find alternative employment for financial reason, for purposeful living reason, and for new and creative opportunity. There's a woman who became a NASA scientist at 56, having left school at year 10. Now, the Australian government, with this burgeoning ageing population, is naturally keen also to keep as many of us in employment, part-time employment, as they can and as we can. The superannuation accumulation of most Australians is insufficient to fund a potential retirement in former terms, post-65, of 20 or 30 years. Because whatever else the baby boomer generation is doing, despite its fun and games in earlier years, it's living longer. Healthcare, if nothing else, is enabling that to happen. But as we noted earlier, the baby boomer generation also, by having expenses and responsibilities that extend across up to 4 generations, has financial responsibilities and commitments that require work and income. So the important thing is to find such continuing work as interests you, challenges you, and perhaps uses abilities that you might not have used before. I met recently one hairdresser who has become a carpenter, and another who is working in retail sales. ask yourself these questions. What are my generic skills that can be used in other contexts? Filing, bookkeeping, speaking, writing, editing. Ask yourself, what is it I think I always would like to have done and haven't yet? What new training, what new learning could I engage in to help me do that? And ask yourself, what do I need to discuss with the people who are important to me so that I can balance my need to work, my responsibility to work, and my need for time for myself and perhaps to volunteer in the community. Ron Brown of Plus 40 has some interesting comments to make.
Is there anything that people in their 40s, 50s and 60s should be doing if they're getting ready to go looking for a job? Is there things that they would be wise to do before they get out and start knocking on doors?
Look, there's a number of things that they can do, Paul, and really it's universal, but for mature age workers the key thing is to focus on the specific type of job you really want to do. Go with the strengths, go where you've got your skills and experience. Obviously, if you're changing career direction, you need to make sure you've got the appropriate training, perhaps some qualifications, and then you need to be flexible in terms of the opportunities you chase, because employers will consider you to be the same as a young graduate, great personality but not much experience. So stick with where you do have your strengths. Always remember to focus on the other skills you bring with you, people skills, communication skills, stability, commitment, and the benefits that you bring to an employer in terms of productivity. Those are the key things to focus on.
Ron, what about those people who are thinking of getting out of full-time work and they're looking to get a casual job? Does the same rules apply, or have you got any thoughts on people looking in the casual market or part-time market?
The biggest single issue in the casual and part-time market is the pay rate. Always have to expect a drop in rate. A drop in pay, but that shouldn't be a drop in rate. You should still be paid what the going rate is or the award rate is for your particular role. You need to be flexible. A lot of employers are actually grateful to mature age people who look for part-time work because they may be looking to scale up but can't afford a full-time employee. So to have a part-timer or even people that might job share is a bonus for employers in this market.
If we're going to enjoy the years after work, it's pretty obvious that we're going to need our health. Now, in our book, we have a chapter written by the Vice President of the Australian Medical Association, who runs through some of the main issues we should be looking at. Neil, you've got a few comments on the really important issues that people should focus on.
Paul, viewers should now see on the screen a great long list of health issues that affect not only older people, but people from their 20s and 30s. But one of the things that is particular to those of us in our 40s, 50s, 60s and 70s is that health issues and health habits have become cumulative. And the effect of long-term bad health habits is certainly powerful. Being healthy for as long as you can is critical to aging well. There are always the what-ifs that unexpectedly happen. And they catch us by surprise. And sometimes they're fatal. Others are serious and life-threatening, particularly cancers. Some are in our family history. Others, with modern medicine and alternative medicine, can be managed. But only you can decide what you will eat and drink and where your indulgences will be. If you haven't had a complete checkup in the last 6 to 12 months, including a dental checkup, even a podiatry checkup, then have one with all the relevant scans. Heart, weight, diabetes, cancer, arthritis are the killers of what otherwise can be a healthy, happy and productive older age.
Thanks, Neil. And if you're still with us, thank you for staying. We're obviously not paid actors, and I guess it shows. But we've been talking briefly about just some of the issues that we cover in this book. Obviously, in a 240-page book, we cover them in a lot more detail, and I should add that not only have Neil and I written a lot of these chapters, there's 20 other experts who have contributed to the book. While Neil and I have been talking about serious issues here, we firmly believe that the next 10 to 15 years can be some of the best years of your life. And the book is full of lots of positive suggestions on how you can have a lot of fun in the years ahead.